Steve Harvey had hosted Family Feud for over 15 years, guiding thousands of families through moments of competition, celebration, and occasional tension on his stage. Throughout his extensive career in television, he had witnessed the full spectrum of human behavior and family dynamics, from heartwarming demonstrations of unity and love to uncomfortable revelations that occasionally surfaced during the heat of gameplay. However, nothing in his considerable experience could have prepared him for what would unfold on that February afternoon in 2024, when a single word uttered by a husband to describe his wife would trigger an immediate and powerful response from Steve that would halt production instantly and deliver one of the most pointed confrontations about respect and human dignity in the show's long history. The Bradford family from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, stood ready to compete against the Lee family from San Francisco, California, both families presenting an outward appearance of enthusiasm and unity as they prepared to participate in America's most beloved game show. Yet beneath the carefully rehearsed smiles and coordinated clothing choices, a profound lack of respect was about to surface that would leave the studio audience stunned, the production crew deeply uncomfortable, and Steve Harvey delivering an immediate and unforgettable message about the fundamental respect owed to any human being, particularly to the person who has chosen to share their life with you. If you value stories that remind us of the critical importance of respect in relationships and the courage required to confront disrespect when we witness it, please take a moment to engage with this content by hitting the like button and subscribing to our channel for more powerful narratives about real families navigating real challenges. Kenneth and Lisa Bradford had been married for 16 years, though the quality and character of those years would become tragically apparent through what was about to transpire on national television. Kenneth was 43 years old, a corporate executive whose successful career in financial services had provided substantial material comfort for his family. He carried himself with the self-assured bearing of someone accustomed to authority and deference in professional settings, his expensive tailored suit and polished appearance speaking of success and status. Lisa, 40 years old, stood beside her husband in a modest dress that seemed almost deliberately understated when compared to Kenneth's designer attire. She had spent the past 14 years as a full-time homemaker after leaving her position as a marketing coordinator when their first child was born, dedicating herself entirely to raising their 3 children and managing the household that enabled Kenneth's demanding and time-intensive career. Their children completed the family lineup on the Family Feud stage. 14-year-old Samantha stood near her parents with the careful composure of a teenager who had learned to read and navigate complex adult dynamics. 11-year-old Jacob displayed visible nervousness about the cameras and the pressure to perform well. 8-year-old Grace held her mother's hand with the instinctive trust of the youngest child, excited about being on television, but sensing an underlying tension she could not fully articulate or understand. To the casual observer, they might have appeared to be simply another successful American family, perhaps slightly anxious about their television appearance, but otherwise unremarkable in their presentation and demeanor. However, those with more perceptive observation skills would have noticed subtle indicators of dysfunction within the Bradford family dynamic. There existed a palpable distance between Kenneth and Lisa that extended beyond normal personal space, a notable absence of casual physical affection or comfortable interaction that married couples typically displayed even in formal or public settings. What the studio audience and viewing public could not fully comprehend was the daily reality of life within the Bradford marriage, a reality that Lisa and the children navigated with careful attention to Kenneth's moods, expectations, and frequently expressed opinions about proper behavior and appropriate contributions to the family unit. Kenneth Bradford had constructed his identity and sense of self-worth almost exclusively around professional achievement, financial success, and social standing within his professional and social circles. He measured his own value and assessed the value of others primarily through the lens of career accomplishment, income generation, and professional reputation. Over the 16 years of their marriage, he had developed an increasingly dismissive and condescending attitude toward Lisa's contributions as a homemaker and mother, viewing her work as fundamentally less important and less valuable because it generated no income and commanded no professional prestige or recognition. Kenneth frequently made comments that diminished Lisa's worth and contributions to the family, suggesting that managing a household and raising children required no particular skill or intelligence, that anyone could perform the tasks she undertook daily, that she was fortunate he provided so generously for a family when her own contributions added no measurable value to their financial situation or social standing. He would compare Lisa unfavorably to other women, particularly to professional women he encountered through his business activities and social networks. He would comment on their accomplishments, their intelligence, their professional achievements, always with an implied or sometimes explicit comparison that positioned Lisa as less impressive, less interesting, less worthy of respect and serious consideration. He would discuss his career decisions and professional challenges as if they were the only matters of real importance in the family, dismissing or interrupting Lisa when she attempted to discuss household matters, parenting concerns, or her own thoughts and feelings about their family life and marriage. These patterns had eroded Lisa's sense of self-worth and personal value over the years, gradually convincing her that she was indeed fortunate that Kenneth had married her, and continued to support her financially despite her obvious lack of professional accomplishments or contributions to the family's material success. She had learned to minimize her own needs and opinions in the marriage, to avoid expressing thoughts or feelings that might trigger Kenneth's condescension or dismissiveness, to accept his casual disrespect as simply the way their relationship functioned, and the price she paid for financial security and an intact family for her children. She had stopped pursuing her own interests or maintaining friendships that Kenneth found unimpressive or inconvenient to his schedule and preferences. She had become skilled at managing his moods and maintaining appropriate appearances to the outside world, always working to make him look good and present well, even as he made minimal effort to support, acknowledge, or appreciate her contributions to their shared life. The children had absorbed these dynamics through years of careful observation, learning that their father's approval was conditional and often withheld, that their mother's worth was questioned and diminished in subtle, and sometimes not so subtle ways, that love and respect in their family looked very different from what they observed in the homes of friends, extended family members, and the families they encountered in their school and community activities. They had learned to navigate their father's moods, to avoid topics that might trigger his lectures or criticism, to support their mother quietly while not openly contradicting their father's assertions about family roles and relative importance of different contributions. The Family Feud appearance had been arranged through Kenneth's professional network, an opportunity he viewed as both entertainment and a chance to showcase his family on national television in a manner that would reflect positively on his personal brand and public image within his professional and social circles. He had prepared extensively for the game show appearance, studying strategies and common survey answers, reviewing past episodes to understand optimal gameplay approaches, and instructing his family members on how to behave and what to say if given opportunities to speak on camera. Lisa had accommodated the plan as she accommodated all of Kenneth's decisions and preferences, managing her own considerable anxiety about appearing on television while ensuring the children were prepared and presented according to their father's detailed specifications and expectations. The game began with the characteristic energy and polished production that had made Family Feud a beloved fixture of American television for decades. Steve Harvey engaged both families with his practiced warmth and humor, creating an atmosphere of fun competition and family celebration that put most contestants at ease and allowed them to enjoy the experience. The Bradford family won the initial face-off question, and Kenneth immediately assumed control of the game with an authoritative confidence that bordered on arrogance and superiority. He consulted with his family members in a manner that appeared collaborative on the surface, but actually involved him overruling their suggestions and implementing his own answers while offering minimal acknowledgement of their input, ideas, or contributions to the family's gameplay strategy. The first 2 rounds progressed with the Bradford family performing adequately, building a respectable score through a combination of correct answers and strategic gameplay decisions. Kenneth provided several answers with visible self-satisfaction, clearly enjoying the spotlight and the opportunity to demonstrate his quick thinking and competence on national television before millions of viewers. When his answers failed to appear on the board, he would make dismissive comments about the survey methodology or question the intelligence and judgment of the survey respondents, positioning himself as intellectually superior to the process, even when his own contributions proved incorrect or misguided. When Lisa or the children offered suggestions that turned out to be wrong or not on the board, Kenneth would shake his head with visible disappointment and make subtle or sometimes overt comments about their lack of judgment or poor instincts that were audible to those standing nearby, even if not always clearly picked up by the stage microphones. It was during the third round that the moment occurred which would stop the game instantly and trigger one of Steve Harvey's most immediate and powerful interventions in his years of hosting the show. The moment happened not during a formal question and answer sequence, but during a brief consultation period when Kenneth was discussing potential answers with his family members before making his official response. Steve Harvey was standing nearby, waiting for the family to reach their decision, when he overheard Kenneth's comment to Lisa in response to something she had suggested as a possible answer to the current question. Lisa had quietly offered a suggestion for an answer, speaking softly to Kenneth as the family consulted together. Kenneth turned to her with an expression of barely concealed contempt and spoke in a tone that was clearly meant to be dismissive, though apparently without recognition that his words might be overheard by Steve Harvey or picked up by the sensitive microphones positioned around the stage area. His words were delivered with casual cruelty, as if he were simply stating an obvious and unremarkable fact rather than expressing profound disrespect for his wife in a public setting. "Your opinion is irrelevant, Lisa. You have not had a real thought worth considering in years. Just let me handle this." The words were spoken quietly, but not quietly enough. Steve Harvey heard them clearly, and his reaction was immediate and visceral. His entire body language changed in an instant, his casual game show host demeanor evaporating to be replaced by barely controlled anger and profound offense at what he had just witnessed. He held up his hand to stop the game, his gesture commanding enough that the entire studio seemed to freeze in response to his obvious displeasure, and the sudden shift in atmosphere from lighthearted competition to serious confrontation. Steve turned to face Kenneth directly, and when he spoke, his voice carried none of its usual warmth or humor. Instead, it carried the unmistakable weight of moral authority and righteous anger at witnessing casual cruelty and disrespect. The studio audience sensed immediately that something significant had occurred, falling silent with anticipation and concern about what would happen next. The production crew exchanged uncertain glances but made no move to interrupt what was clearly about to unfold. "Stop! Hold on! Wait just a minute!" Steve's words were measured and deliberate, each syllable carrying unmistakable force and controlled fury. "Kenneth Bradford, I need you to repeat what you just said to your wife. I need you to say those words again, out loud, so that everyone in this studio and everyone watching at home can hear exactly what you just called your wife of 16 years, the mother of your 3 children, the woman standing right here beside you." Kenneth looked surprised and somewhat defensive, apparently not having realized that his comment to Lisa had been overheard or that it would trigger any particular response from the host or production team. He seemed to calculate quickly whether to deny the comment, deflect with humor, or acknowledge what he had said. After a brief hesitation, he chose to defend his statement as simple honesty rather than recognizing it as the profound disrespect it represented. "I simply told her that her opinion on this particular question was not relevant to our strategy. She does not understand how these game shows work or what answers are likely to be on the board. I was just being honest about the fact that I should handle the decision-making in areas where I have more knowledge and experience." Steve's expression made clear that this explanation was entirely unacceptable and that Kenneth had fundamentally misunderstood both the nature of his offense and the seriousness of the moment he had created. Steve's voice, when he responded, carried an intensity that commanded complete attention from everyone present in the studio. "No, that is not what you said. You did not say her opinion on this particular question was not relevant. You said her opinion was irrelevant. You said she has not had a real thought worth considering in years. Those are not words about a game show question, Kenneth. Those are words about how you view your wife as a human being. Those are words that reveal exactly how you think about and treat the woman who has spent 16 years of her life building a family and home with you." Steve paused to let those words land before continuing with even greater force and passion. "I am stopping this game right now because what I just heard cannot go unaddressed or unchallenged. We are not continuing this taping until we deal with what just happened here, because this is not about Family Feud anymore. This is about basic human respect and dignity, and I will not allow someone to call their spouse irrelevant on my stage without immediate and direct confrontation of that behavior." The studio had fallen into complete and absolute silence, every person present recognizing that they were witnessing something far beyond typical game, show, drama, or entertainment. Kenneth's face had shifted from surprised defensiveness to growing discomfort as he began to recognize that Steve Harvey was not going to allow this moment to pass without significant consequence and confrontation. Lisa stood frozen beside her husband, her face reflecting a complex mixture of emotions, including embarrassment at having her marital dynamics exposed so publicly, pain at having Kenneth's private disrespect now made public and undeniable, and perhaps a glimmer of relief that someone was finally confronting behavior and attitudes she had endured for years. Steve turned his attention first to Lisa, and his expression and tone shifted immediately to reflect compassion and genuine concern for the woman who had just been dismissed and degraded by her husband in such casual and cruel terms. His voice, when he addressed her, carried none of the anger directed at Kenneth, only kindness and a fierce determination to affirm her worth in the face of such devastating dismissal. Lisa Bradford, I want you to hear me clearly when I tell you this, and I want everyone in this studio and everyone watching at home to hear it as well. You are not irrelevant. Your thoughts are not worthless. Your opinions matter. Your contributions to your family over 16 years of marriage and 14 years of full-time parenting and household management are valuable and important. What your husband just said to you is not a reflection of your worth or value as a human being. It is a reflection of his character and his fundamental failure to understand what truly matters in life and what makes a person worthy of respect. Steve allowed those words to settle and resonate before turning back to Kenneth, and the compassion that had characterized his words to Lisa was replaced immediately by controlled fury and moral challenge. His voice carried the authority of someone who had lived long enough and experienced enough to recognize genuine toxicity and destructive behavior when confronted with it. Kenneth Bradford, let me tell you exactly what I see when I look at this situation. I see a man who has become so consumed by his own sense of importance and professional success that he has lost all perspective on what actually gives life meaning and value. I see a man who measures human worth exclusively through career achievement and income generation, which represents one of the most shallow and destructive frameworks for evaluating people that exists. I see a man who has spent 16 years married to a woman who sacrificed her own career to raise his children and manage his household. And instead of recognizing and appreciating that sacrifice, he dismisses her as irrelevant and incapable of real thought. Steve's voice grew stronger and more passionate as he continued, his words coming with increasing speed but remaining precise and purposeful in their delivery. You called your wife irrelevant. That word choice was not accidental or imprecise. Irrelevant means not important, not worthy of consideration, not mattering in any meaningful way. You told your wife, the mother of your children, that she does not matter. You told her that her thoughts have no value. You communicated in the clearest possible terms that you view her as beneath your consideration and unworthy of basic respect. Kenneth began to speak, perhaps to offer explanation or defense, but Steve raised his hand with such commanding authority that Kenneth stopped immediately without completing whatever statement he had been preparing. Steve's expression made absolutely clear that he was not finished and that Kenneth would listen before being given any opportunity to respond. I want to tell you something about relevance and value, Kenneth, because you clearly have no understanding of these concepts beyond their application to career achievement and professional status. Your wife's relevance is not determined by whether she works outside the home or generates income. Her value is not measured by her professional accomplishments or her ability to answer game show questions. Her worth as a human being is inherent and fundamental, and it exists completely independent of your assessment or approval. Steve gestured toward the children standing nearby, ensuring Kenneth understood the full scope of the damage he was inflicting beyond just his relationship with Lisa. Your children are standing right here watching and listening to how you treat their mother. Your daughter is 14 years old. She just heard her father call her mother irrelevant and dismiss her thoughts as worthless. What do you think that teaches her about her own value? What do you think that teaches her about what she should accept from men in her life? What do you think that teaches her about the worth of motherhood and homemaking when she makes her own choices in the future? The weight and truth of Steve's words seemed to be penetrating Kenneth's defenses in a way that perhaps nothing had before. His face reflected growing discomfort and the first signs of genuine recognition that he had made a serious error not just in what he said, but in the fundamental attitudes and beliefs that had led to that statement. Steve continued without pause, incorporating wisdom gained through his own relationship experiences and mistakes alongside his righteous anger at the disrespect he had witnessed. Kenneth, I'm going to tell you this from personal experience. I have been married 3 times. I have made terrible mistakes in relationships. I have been the man who thought professional success made me more important than the woman standing beside me. I have learned through painful experience that career achievement means absolutely nothing if you destroy your family and lose the respect of your children in the process of obtaining it. He paused before delivering what would become the most quoted portion of his response. You think your wife is irrelevant because she does not generate income or hold professional status that impresses you. But let me tell you what is actually irrelevant, Kenneth. Your professional achievements are irrelevant if you use them as justification to treat people with contempt. Your financial success is irrelevant if you measure human worth solely through economic contribution. Your opinions about game show strategy are irrelevant compared to the damage you just did to your wife's dignity and your children's understanding of what healthy relationships should look like. If this story has reinforced your understanding that every person deserves basic respect, regardless of their career status or economic contribution, that words have power to harm or heal, and that we all have a responsibility to confront disrespect when we witness it, please take a moment to like this content and subscribe to our channel for more powerful narratives about families, respect, and the courage to stand up for human dignity in all circumstances.